So they keep making these announcements about everything that's been canceled, and they talk about, hey, you should avoid social interaction as much as possible. And I'm like, okay, could you stop interrupting my book, please? Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike here with another weekly update. Lots of things going on to talk about this week. It's been kind of a catch-up week for the channel on reviews and things like that. So lots of stuff I've been putting off, I kind of been doing. But, I think you know if you've watched the news right now that just about everything that's going on the planet right now is about what all is being canceled. Well, you know what? No worries about that here. Life goes on as usual. Not leaving the house very much, so it makes me, I got more time to read, more time to talk to you guys about what I'm reading, because that's just what we do here. So if you kind of caught there in the intro, as far as my Wheel of Time journey goes, I am currently on The Gathering Storm. I already recorded my wish list for it. I know if you're like, hey, wait a second, I didn't want to get it up before I did my Knife of Dreams review, so there might be some things I didn't want it being influenced at all, you know, before I started reading this. So I did record it after I finished Knife of Dreams. I haven't done the Knife of Dreams review yet. I still had to do the New Spring review and stuff, so it's just kind of a thing where I'm reading it faster than I'm able to review stuff, but I have recorded these things, so don't worry, they won't be fake reactions or anything like that. I just don't, publish everything the day that I record them. I'd like to try to balance things out so I keep content on the channel fresh. But obviously, that does mean, yes, I finished the Knife of Dreams, had a really good time with it. I was frustrated with a certain character, as I have been. If you've watched those reviews, you know what character that is. And that character having such a prevalent... Basically, in the third act, when everything is just like blowing up, like Jordan is, usually does. And every time this character would show up, the story would just kind of screech to a halt for me again. And I felt like it kept taking me out of the action. And that kind of influenced me to where I said, you know what, I can't give this book a 4-star rating. I'm going to give it a 3. And then I slept on it for 9. I said, you know what, I gave The Dragon Reborn 4 stars, and it had even more of that kind of stuff in it. So I think I'm really being unfair to it. So I adjusted my rating to 4 stars. Yes, this is the best book in the series since the Shadow Rising for me. So there's a quick little teaser for you. Had a very, very good time with it. Was very sad on those last 50 pages realizing that this was the last official published work by Mr. Jordan. So there is that, but that is where we are. So be on the lookout for the Knife of Dreams review early next week. I do plan to try to record it this weekend. It's been kind of crazy with the kids home for spring break this week, and you know what? Now they're going to be home for the foreseeable future because good old thing going on around the country right now. I'm sure you know what that is. What's next? I did do my review for New Spring. A nice little kind of hiatus onto the series here. Reading this right after Crossroads of Twilight. Definitely wanted to read it before, I finished the series. I didn't want this to be my last impression of the world. I want A Memory of Light to be the last thing that I touch in this universe. So it was... What's the word I'm looking for here? I feel like people think I didn't like it. I liked it quite a bit. It wasn't anything just like so mind-blowing for me that I feel like it answered a bunch of questions. Yes, it scratched some itches. I wanted to see Moraine again. I wanted to see Lan again. So of course I wanted to read it, and I had a good time with it. It just isn't anything that I'm like, oh, that's one of the best things I've seen in the series. But I do feel like it enhanced my experience with Knife of Dreams, and I'll talk about why. I talk about it a little bit in that review, but I'll talk about it more in depth when I do my Knife of Dreams, and I'll just say it has something to do with a golden crane. Let's put it there. I did resume talking about Dresden Files. Yes, I am on a quick little break right now of Dresden Files. Not because I wasn't having a good time. I've been having a great time. But, the reading schedule for Wheel of Time just kind of took over. And you know that story by now. But I did do a review for Blood Rights. And I feel like that this is a book that's kind of... It seems like it's I think it's my most viewed Dresden video besides like the first one. It seems like it's getting a lot more traction because I feel like the fans are disagreeing. It seems like a lot of the fans look at this one and say that it's one of the lesser in the series, and it's sandwiched between two really, really good ones like Death Mask and, from what I've heard, Deadbeat. And this one's just kind of like the ugly stepchild. But you have other people like fighting like this, and this happens in there. So it's a spoiler review, but if you've read the series, I'd say go in there and give yourself a little opinion on it, because it seems like people are mixed on it. I was mostly mixed on it. I felt like the case was whatever, but the big moments were big. They were really big, and there was lots of stuff in there that I liked. As far as the Dresden schedule goes, look, guys, I put that on pause, like I said, because I was going to JordanCon. Well, look, it's very likely at this point that JordanCon is going to get canceled. I feel like everything is getting canceled. They've canceled almost every major sport in America right now, or suspended it, or the kids don't have school next week until the foreseeable future. Who knows what is going to happen because of this whole ordeal. But yeah, JordanCon is likely to get canceled. I mean, they're canceling a lot of planned flights during that time and stuff, so I figure it's only a matter of time before that's official, but I don't want to make that announcement until it is official. If that does happen, my schedule will revert. I will go back to Dresden, and I will go back to one book a month of Wheel of Time until I'm done. Obviously, I've already started Gathering Storm, so I'll finish that one, but I would go ahead and push book 13 to the next month, and Memory of Light back to the summer, like I had planned, to give it the space that it needed. So that's likely to happen, but I'm ready to make that announcement. So it really sucks. It really sucks because, it's my first major media event where I'm a credentialed press member. But obviously, safety first. Obviously, safety first. So it was a little later than usual, but I did another book haul. I talked about a lot of the things that I got this month. But really the big thing in there was I talked about my love for Michael Crichton. I just grabbed the first book I saw, and it's a great one. I love Michael Crichton, and it was one of those things where I was like, you know what? His books are relatively cheap and easy to find at this point in his career. I mean, the man passed away 12 years ago, but it's not like some of these old fantasy books, like trying to dig up those Wheel of Time books. It wasn't really hard to find all these hardcovers, and they're really cheap. So it's something that I wanted to do because it's an author that I absolutely adore. You guys know what a big Stephen King fan I am, and in the 90s it was like King and Crichton. That was it. That was everything to me. I wasn't into Grisham because I don't really care for law, but it felt like King, Grisham, Crichton. Those three in a row, no matter what they put out, it was an instant bestseller before it was even released. It was straight to the top. And so, yeah, I just made me remember how much I love Michael Crichton. And I want to talk a little bit more in depth about him soon. And seeing that so many others were big Crichton fans too. And I mean, how could you not be? The guy was a hit machine. So check that out if you want a little bit more about Michael Crichton until I'm able to do my Why You Should Read on Michael Crichton. Because long story short, you should read him because he's freaking amazing. He was amazing. And I feel like his stuff's just kind of, fallen by the wayside a little bit since his passing. And I hate that because I feel like the man's legacy is, one of the best of our generation. And such an impact on our pop culture. But like I said, I'll get to that a little more when I do my Why You Should Read. But of course, I mentioned King. I did continue my Into the Multiverse series by talking about The Shining. I feel like this is one of King's much more popular to casuals. I feel like a lot of people who aren't big Stephen King fans have read this one. And so I enjoyed talking about it quite a bit. And really talking about the differences reading it as a 15-year-old versus reading it as a 39-year-old with young children, and seeing kind of how different it was for me in that experience. And yeah, I obviously recommend that you read The Shining. It's if anything, read it for its impact on our pop culture at this point, right? Because it's a story that I feel like my mother, who wouldn't touch horror with my eyeballs, she even knows about what The Shining is and what it's about, and all the things that are ingrained to our pop culture at this point. So check that out if you get a moment, because I love talking about King, and I would like to continue this Into the Multiverse series. I just wish I could get more traffic on it. I know you guys might not be crazy about King, but they're non-spoiler until the very end. So I hope more of you will give the Stephen King content on the channel a chance, because I'd really, really like to go in depth a little more about some of his bigger works in the future. And lastly, Mistborn March is still on. I did my final Empire review, and it was about 40 minutes. It was spoilers. And the reason I decided to go that way was because I did my Why You Should Read Mistborn, and it was non-spoiler. And I decided if I do 3 non-spoiler videos for these books, all I'm going to do is repeat that video 3 more times. So I did decide to go full spoilers on it. It has been 3 years since I read it, so I did get some things wrong. I guess that there's some people felt like that, I turned in a book report and they needed to fact check me. It's going to happen, guys. I even said at the beginning of that video, I'll probably get some things wrong because it has been 3 years since I read this. So I was just going off of memory and skimming. I've been skimming some of those books since January in preparation for this to try to remember everything that happened in which book and stuff like that. But obviously, I'm a very big Mistborn fan. I love that original trilogy, and I love that first book. So check that out if you get a chance, and go easy on a brother. I was just it's the best that I could do with just going off of memory. But this did it influence me based off of feedback from you guys to start my own Discord channel, and I've got that link in the comments down there. In the episode description. I can put it in the comments too if you want. But the Discord that I was on, Caravan, great people or whatever, but I felt like it was a point where I asked the people there, would you like me to start my own Discord channel? And it was a resounding yes, and everyone jumped over to it. I'm not going to be ditching Caravan, but I will be eventually ending my thread on Caravan to for my own channel. But I'll still be visiting Caravan and frequenting Caravan quite a bit because I feel like they're great people and there's lots of stuff to talk about in there. But if you would not mind hitting up the Discord, that would be super awesome of you because I feel like we have great conversations there. I've got different categories for other series. If you want to talk about individual series, you want to talk about spoilers for those series, all those kinds of things. I have categories for just about everything over there. And it's just a good way for you to reach me directly if you want to. Sometimes the comments are starting to get so busy on here, I'm not able to keep up with them some days. And Twitter, I'm hit or miss on that. Discord's kind of where I've really moved stuff. So if you want to hit me directly, that's the best way to go to it and connect with the other viewers. Post your videos and links, your social media, stuff like that. That's really what it is. Just trying to make a community for fans of the channel to talk with each other. Not just, talk about what I'm doing, but talk about anything. So hit that if you get a chance. So while I was ready for my own Discord, something I am not ready yet is for Patreon. I've had some people tell me, hey, you do like a Patreon or whatever. I don't feel like I have anything that I can offer people special outside of regular viewers to start a Patreon. Bonus episodes or something like that? I don't really know that I would be doing that, or unedited episodes or something like that. I don't really know if that's anything that I would feel okay with asking you guys to donate towards. So I'm still not quite there yet. I appreciate those of you that said that you would participate in a Patreon if I had it. But until I'm able to offer you something special, I don't want to put it up there where I'm just asking for your money. Because what I've always said, guys, is I started the channel to have conversation, not to make money. And I know that might sound like a line, but it's true. Is the money neat? Sure, it's a thing. But this is still a hobby for me. This is not a full-time job or anything like that. I'm not asking you guys to support my book buying habits or anything like that, or upgrading my camera gear or stuff. So I'm not really ready to do that. If the channel keeps growing like it has, and I start to come up with new ideas for content that can be just for Patreon folks, I'll get into that then. But for now, the Discord's plenty. The Discord is just plenty for me. And just keep watching the videos, and you help the channel out enough. Comment and talk to me and stuff, and that's the best way to help the channel out for now. As for non-book stuff, guys, I finished The Outsider on HBO. Me and my wife finished it. A little bit of a mixed bag. I feel like if you've read the book, and if you're like me, you love the book. I love the book quite a bit. It's one of those things where I keep saying that King should not be able to write stories that get to me like that at this point in his career, at his age. But I felt like when the show followed the book, it was really good. When it went off and did like its own thing, it got really boring. There were like 3 episodes in a row where my wife, who hasn't read it, said, yeah, the last 3 episodes could have been deleted and nothing would change. My biggest gripe about the show, and I'll get into it when I do my review, is I'll talk about the book and the show, is that I felt like they changed Holly way too much. No, it's not about skin color. Not at all. Not at all. I could care less if she's Middle Eastern or black or white or purple or green. That's not what it's about. What it is about is that Holly's character has specific conditions, and I felt like they just decided to play off that in their own way. They basically turned her into a mix of Rain Man and Danny from The Shining. They almost made her like nearly a superhero, and that is not Holly at all. So that was my big problem with what they did on the show. But watching the show just without influence from the book, yeah, you can see if it's probably the best thing they've had since True Detective. They were obviously very, very inspired by True Detective, but Now they're talking about doing like a second season of the show and stuff, and that's where I was like, that's where it always goes wrong with Stephen King adaptations is the showrunners or the screenwriters decide that they're better writers than Stephen King, and I'm sorry, I'm here to tell you you're not. So that is kind of all I'll say about the series. I think you should watch it. If you've read the book, I think you should watch it. Form your own opinion. Don't go off of mine. Always say that. Always form your own opinion. I felt like it missed the mark a couple places. If it had been like a good 6 or 7 episodes, I felt like it would have been really a lot better. But as far as King adaptation goes, it's one of the better ones. It really is. Most of the big moments still happen. Holly's a character I've read for 4 books now, and I felt like they really missed exactly what her character's condition is. And I felt like it was just kind of disrespectful to the character in many, many ways. And I'll get into a little more in that review. Last up, guys, gaming. I actually did play some games this week. Ori and the Will of the Wisps. If you don't know, that is the sequel to a game that came out a couple years ago, independent game called Ori and the Blind Forest. It's just a Metroidvania 2D side scroller, but I mean just beautiful. And it's this is the sequel to it, and I dare say I think it might be even better. It's amazing what they were able to do with this, but definitely check it out. I'll put a link to it below for you guys to check out. It's a really, really just a fun game, challenging, but very fun. Like some of the jumps in there are some of the hardest thing I've ever seen in a side scroller. But it's kind of one of those things where you're kind of a classic fan of like Castlevania or Metroid, something like that. I think that you'd really, really dig it quite a bit. The soundtrack is incredible. I use the soundtrack from the first game as some of my study music sometimes. So if you're into that kind of stuff, or PC, I'm playing it on PC, but I know it is also, I believe, on Xbox and PS4. So it's really cool. Highest of recommends for that game. Highest recommends for the first one. I think you can get the first one for like $10 now. It's a beautiful, beautiful, fun game. So I can't say enough about that. But guys, that was this week. Basically, if you've been watching anything outside of YouTube right now, you know it's just madness about what all is going on in the country right now. I don't want to mention it by name because apparently it'll get your YouTube channel striked. But yeah, with everything getting canceled, like I said, there's going to be a lot more time. I'm not going to be watching baseball here in a month. I'm not going to be watching the NBA playoffs, apparently. I'm not going to be watching March Madness. And I'm a big sports fan. So this just kind of opens the door for other things, like gaming, like reading more, like maybe watching some more movies or stuff. I don't know. We'll see. But what about you guys? What are you up to? What have you been watching? What have you been reading? What have you been playing? What have you been listening to? All these questions. I want to know what you guys are up to. What are you guys going to do with your time off that it seems like we're all going to have here? Hit me in the comments, guys, and have a great, great weekend.